She pointed at me like she was about to stab me with her finger, sharp and loud, her voice cutting through the roar of the bus like a blade. Get up. That seat isn't for you. You're too old to even be disabled. Can you believe that? Rush hour, crowded city bus, brakes squealing, people already packed shoulder to shoulder, and somehow she decided I was her target. Just like that, every set of eyes snapped on me like I'd been caught doing something wrong. My hands tightened around the metal pole, knuckles white. My back was on fire from an old injury, the one that never healed right, and my cane was leaning against my leg like proof carved out of wood. But still, she stood there, lips curled, glaring at the little blue sign above my head. Priority seating for disabled riders. I tried to answer, but my voice came out lower than I wanted, shaky from both shock and the heat crawling up my neck. Excuse me, this seat is for me. She cut me off like a gunshot. You heard me. That's not for people like you. You're old. You don't need it. My son does. And man, the way she said, my son, you'd think she was laying down the law of the universe. My heart was racing, not just from her words, but from the way the whole bus went silent. You ever feel that? That heavy silence where you know everybody's watching, waiting to see how far it's going to go. Yeah, that was it. I took a breath, slow and careful, my ribs aching, back spasming again. Ma'am, I need the seat, I said, nodding to the cane, trying to keep it calm, respectful. This is what it's for. But she leaned in closer, her perfume hitting me sharp and sour, like cheap flowers left too long in vinegar. Don't play the victim, she sneered. I see you walking around. Older folks fake it all the time. My taxes pay for you to ride free, and you're still selfish enough to hog the spot. That broke the quiet. A couple gasps fluttered through the bus like wind through dead leaves. Someone muttered, "Oh, hell no," from the back. But because let's be honest, she was a Karen through, and through was just heating up. She jabbed her finger again, practically shaking with the need to make me stand, and something in me snapped. I didn't yell, didn't cry, didn't even raise my voice. I just looked her in the eye and said, steady as stone, "You want this seat? Then take it. But don't expect the crowd to carry your pride once they see the truth." For half a second, she blinked like I'd punched her with words she didn't expect. Then she smirked, tossed her oversized tote bag right into my lap, yeah, my lap, like she was planting a flag, and started twisting herself to sit. That's when fate stepped in, or maybe just the bus driver. The brakes slammed hard, jolting every bone in my body, and that tote slid to the floor. My cane clattered against the pole with a sound that echoed like a gavel. Karen stumbled, yelped, caught off guard. And right then, from the middle of the bus, another voice sliced through the air. "Sit your entitled ass down anywhere but there." Head swiveled. It was a younger woman, earbuds dangling, eyes sharp and unflinching. She wasn't laughing, wasn't smiling, just done. Karen froze, her face flushing, jaw twitching. She tried to find her words, but before she could, another voice rose, a guy in greasy work boots, grease still under his fingernails. "Yeah, he needs that seat more than you. What's wrong with you?" Picking on him. Then it was like a switch flipped. The whole bus turned, voices overlapping, one after another, heat building like a storm. "You're cruel. Leave him alone." Even a teenager with blaring rap yanked out an earbud just long enough to shake his head. "Lady, you trippin'?" Karen's confidence cracked like thin glass. Her lips twitched, eyes darting, and she finally sputtered, "You don't understand," but the bus driver cut her clean, his voice heavy with authority, the kind that comes from too many long shifts dealing with people like her. "No, we understand just fine. You're harassing a disabled rider. One more word, I stop this bus, call transit security, and you walk home." "Got it." Boom. Silence. She opened and closed her mouth like a fish, nothing coming out. For a second, she looked at me, almost pleading, like maybe I'd save her from the mess she'd created. But I just looked back, steady, calm, even though my chest was pounding like a drum. I didn't know her anything. And then, the twist I didn't see coming. A small voice, quiet but clear, floated from the far side of the bus. "Mom, stop yelling. Please." Every head turned. There, by the window, was a boy, maybe 10 years old, pale face, wide eyes, clutching his backpack straps like they were keeping him from drowning. Her son. He'd been there the whole time, silent, embarrassed. And in that instant, the whole bus didn't just see her cruelty, they saw the kid she was dragging into it. She reached for him, voice shaking now. "Sweetie, don't," but he pulled away, eyes brimming with something way older than his years. "I told you I didn't want the seat. I'm fine. Just stop." And man, those words hit harder than anything else that day. The bus didn't cheer. It didn't need to. The weight of shame in that silence was enough. For the first time, Karen deflated, her armor gone, exposed by the very person she claimed she was fighting for. When the bus hissed open at the next stop, she yanked up her tote, grabbed her boy's wrist, and stormed out, heels clacking against the pavement, muttering nonsense lost to the roar of traffic. The door shut, the bus rolled on, and for the first time that ride, I let out the breath I'd been holding. The young woman gave me a nod, sharp and affirming, like a silent, "We got you." The guy in boots muttered something about people needing manners. Even the teenager gave me a fist bump before diving back into his music. And me? My hands finally unclenched from my cane. My shoulders sagged, my body still aching, but my heart lighter than it had been in years. But here's what stuck with me long after. It wasn't about me holding my ground. It wasn't even about the crowd backing me up. It was about that boy, that quiet voice, trembling but strong enough to cut through all the chaos. He'd seen entitlement in its ugliest form, and he wanted no part of it. And I kept wondering, how many times had he been dragged into her battles before? How many times had she weaponized his existence as her excuse? Maybe, just maybe, that was the day he decided he was done. When I finally stepped off of my stop, the evening air hit me cool and crisp like a reset. My body still hurt, but my spirit felt alive. Justice had played out right there, not in some courtroom, not in a speech, but in a rattling city bus where a bully got silenced by her own son. She wanted my seat, my dignity, my silence. But in the end, she walked off empty-handed, carrying nothing but her shame. And me? I carried something better, a memory of strangers standing up, and a kid brave enough to tell his own mom to stop. So tell me, what do you think? Was that justice, or just a lucky break? If you've ever faced down a Karen like that, or been saved by a stranger's courage, I want to hear it. Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about where the line is between standing up and stepping in. Because sometimes the fight for dignity happens in the most ordinary places, like a crowded bus with no room for cruelty. I thought that was the end of it, you know? Just another wild city bus ride to file away, shake off, and maybe laugh about later, except I couldn't let it go. That boy's face, pale and stoic, kept playing in my mind even as I walked those last blocks home. The city had its usual noise, cars honking, people yelling into their phones, sirens somewhere far off, but I felt outside of it all, almost floating. Maybe it was adrenaline, maybe it was relief, or maybe it was the sense that something fundamental had shifted, even if nobody else could see it. By the time I got home, my back was barking at me for real, but my head was buzzing, replaying every detail, Karen's sneer, the crowd's voices, that kid's trembling courage. I collapsed in my chair, cane propped up against the coffee table, and just sat there, letting the quiet settle in. But you know how life works. Sometimes when you think a story's over, it's just turning the page. I didn't even get through a full cup of coffee before my phone started blowing up. First, it was a text from my neighbor. "Hey, were you on the 22 today? You're all over this group chat." I scrolled, and there it was, a shaky phone video from the back of the bus, already making the rounds. I watched myself gripping the pole, Karen's voice shrill as ever, then the woman with the earbuds, the guy in the boots, the teenager, and clear as day, that moment the little boy stood up to his own mom. The video didn't just show what happened, it captured the whole mood, the tension, the shift, the way people came together. And yeah, I cringed a little seeing myself look so vulnerable. But I also saw something else, something I hadn't realized in the moment. How fast a group of strangers can transform from bystanders into allies. Within an hour, my phone was lit up with notifications. Friends, coworkers, even my old college roommate. I guess everyone recognized my battered old jacket messaged me their takes. Some furious, some proud, some just shocked at how quickly things got ugly and then turned around. And man, the comment section under that video? Wild. Some folks called it justice. Others said the crowd should have done more. A couple people even tried to defend Karen, talking about stress and bad days. But what caught me off guard was how many people zeroed in on the boy. Folks wondered about him, hoping he'd be all right, asking how often kids get dragged into adult battles like that. That's when the story really changed for me. See, later that week, I was back at the bus stop, same time, same root habit's a hard thing to break, even when it comes with a limp. The weather had turned, city sky heavy with rain. I was fumbling with my umbrella when I heard a small voice behind me. "Excuse me, sir." I turned, and there he was, the same boy from the bus, holding his backpack, looking up at me. His mom was nowhere in sight. For a split second, I felt awkward, like maybe I shouldn't say anything, but he spoke first. I wanted to say sorry for my mom. She gets mean when she's scared. I didn't want to be a part of it. He looked down at his shoes, shuffling, the weight of the world on his little shoulders. I knelt as best I could, ignoring the twinge in my back, and said, "Hey, none of that was your fault." It took guts to speak up. Most adults don't even do that. You did the right thing. His eyes flickered, hopeful. Then a little smile cracked through. "Thanks," he said, and just like that, he was gone, melting into the crowd, boarding the next bus. I watched him go, thinking about how a single moment can shape a person, maybe even break a cycle. Maybe he'd remember that day and stand up for someone else, maybe even teach his mom something, eventually. Or maybe not. Sometimes life isn't neat or fair, and that's the hard truth. But that encounter, quiet and quick as it was, felt more important than the chaos on the bus. It reminded me that these little acts, speaking up, reaching out, holding your ground, matter way more than most of us realize. And as I boarded my bus, slid into a regular seat this time, I caught a glimpse of a new driver in the mirror. She winked, like maybe she'd already heard the story. The city rolls on, but sometimes, if you're lucky, the ripple you leave behind is a good one. Of course, not everyone will agree. Some folks in those comment threads insisted I should have given up the seat just to keep the peace. Others said I should have fought harder. People online love to debate justice, pride, shame, what's right, in public especially when it's not their fight. And honestly, I get it. We're all carrying something you can't see, a pain, a past, a lesson we wish we'd learned sooner. So I'll leave you with this. Next time you see something ugly in public, next time someone's dignity is on the line, ask yourself, are you willing to step in, or will you let the silence do the talking? What would you have done if you'd been on that bus? And what happens to kids who watch adults act that way? Do they repeat it, or do they break free? Yeah, that's a story for another day. But for now, if you've ever stood up when it counted or wished you had, drop a comment. Let's hear about the times strangers made you feel seen, or when you were the one who spoke out. Hit subscribe if you want more real-life stories. And, as always, stay strong, stay kind, and remember, sometimes the smallest voices carry the biggest weight. I'll see you on the next ride.